Hi, I'm Kevin Clarke. I'm an associate editor here at America Magazine. Poverty is beginning to get back in the news. It's been something that we don't like to talk about too much, but since the Great Recession began in 2008, we've seen poverty levels increasing quite dramatically. 15.1% of the population is now considered living below the poverty threshold, and people who are living just above it is almost 1 out of every 2 Americans, 50%. The issue got into the news inadvertently when Republican candidate Mitt Romney had an unfortunate turn of phrase that suggested he didn't care about the very poor because the social safety net protected them. Now, whether or not he really meant that or meant it the way it was taken is sort of irrelevant here. What we're interested in is seeing that poverty, once again, got into some of the headlines. And that's important because in Washington these days, most of the talk centers around austerity budgets going forward, protecting the fiscal integrity of the United States. Some people see that the only way to do that is to cut back on social spending, which unfortunately will have some impact on the people who are living below the poverty threshold these days. That kind of attitude has not really generated the kind of public outcry that it has in the past. In previous decades in American life, when we've had economic crises like this, a lot of people are in poverty. The state society has stepped forward. In fact, in the 1960s, Lyndon Johnson launched the War on Poverty via his Great Society program. This is often remembered rather badly these days. It's was considered a waste of money by certain people, and certain politicians, particularly Republican politicians, like to say that the program indicates that there's really no way to fight poverty through state intervention. What they're not remembering, however, is that between 1962 and 1971, we did have great success in reducing American poverty. It went down from about 22% of the population to just over 11% in the Richard Nixon administration. It's now climbing back up. Does that mean that we're going to have a new war on poverty? Well, probably not, given our fiscal constraints. But we can try to remember that we do have obligations to the poor. The church calls us to remember a preferential option for the poor. That could mean these days not sacrificing social service lifelines that are still operating out there, and focusing more on job creation and retraining workers whose skills have been outdated by the changing economy. There are many things we can still do. Ronald Reagan famously said in 1986 that we fought a war on poverty and poverty won. Well, yes and no. That wasn't exactly true when he said it in '86. In fact, we're still enjoying some of the peace dividends from the war on poverty that Johnson fought. Poverty has not gone back up to the levels it was in the 1950s. Poverty in the African American community was reduced almost in half, 55 to 33%, and has been continuing to go down and is now starting to climb back up. Perhaps we might want to reconsider at least launching a skirmish on the war on poverty. One thing is very clear: if you don't fire a shot, you won't win the war.